Anvesha Deo was born into a wealthy family in Rajasthan, a woman of privilege, beauty, and unbearable pride. She took immense pride in her wealth, her luxury, and her family name. She truly believed that everything in the world existed beneath her, even people. To her, ordinary humans were nothing more than servants, helpers, or background figures in the grand story of her own life. The household staff lived in constant fear of her temper and arrogance. Among them was a quiet, humble young man named Ravi Nath. Anvesha often found pleasure in humiliating him, yelling at him for the smallest mistakes, criticizing his work, and mocking him just to remind him that he was beneath her. Life went on like this, the same pattern of pride and silence, until one day, fate decided to change everything. Anvesha set out on a luxurious vacation to the coast of Kerala with her husband, Ravi Nath, a powerful industrialist, and two of their rich friends. They flew there in their private jet, and later rented a yacht for a sea trip. As they boarded, the captain, Rajesh Nair, greeted them with a polite smile. Everyone returned his greeting except Anvesha. She looked away with cold arrogance and walked past him without shaking his hand. The rest of the crew exchanged glances, quietly shocked by her rudeness. Among the crew members was Ravi, the same young man who had once worked at her mansion. Seeing her attitude again made his heart tighten, but he stayed silent, doing his job quietly, helping everyone carry their luggage to their cabins. Nothing on the yacht pleased Anvesha. Not the simple interior, not the food, not even the ocean view. She found fault in everything. With a tone full of disdain, she asked, "Is there at least a gym here?" Ravi smiled slightly and brought out an old exercise bicycle. Placing it in front of her, he said, "Here you go, ma'am. Maybe this will do for now." His calm sarcasm made Anvesha's face flush with anger. "Do you even know who you're talking to?"
"I can have you fired in a minute."
Ravi lowered his eyes, saying nothing. But deep inside, a quiet voice whispered that someday her pride would fall to the ground. The next day, everyone went diving in small boats across the ocean. They laughed, splashed, and enjoyed themselves. But Anvesha sat apart on a rock, her face turned away in irritation. She was terrified of water. "Ravi, you stay here with me," she ordered sharply. Ravi had no choice but to stay behind. After a moment, he said gently, "Madam, sometimes facing your fear is the greatest courage. Maybe if you try going in, you'll actually enjoy it." Anvesha's eyes narrowed. "So now you're going to teach me what to do?" Ravi fell silent. The waves kept tapping softly against the boat, and between them, a strange, heavy silence hung in the air. The following morning, Anvesha was exercising on the beach while Ravi was cleaning nearby. He was sweating under the heat, working hard, while she looked at him with that same arrogant smile. "People like you," she said coldly, "are born to stay in the dirt." Then she turned away, sipping her water, as if speaking to a poor man had already ruined her mood. Ravi bowed his head, but deep inside, something burned quietly. Perhaps that was the very moment when destiny began preparing to shatter Anvesha Deo's pride forever. When Ravi heard Anvesha's rude outburst, he quietly walked away. A fire burned inside his chest, yet his face remained calm, silent as ever. By noon, everyone gathered on the yacht's deck for lunch. The blue sea stretched endlessly around them. The breeze was light, and everyone was cheerful. Everyone except Anvesha. She had a strange habit of never finding joy in anything. "This food is cold," she snapped sharply. "Ravi, don't you understand?"
"Heat it up right now."
Ravi clenched his fist in restraint. For a moment, anger flickered across his face, but he quickly controlled himself. For a split second, he imagined throwing that very food at the proud woman, the same way she spat venom at him every day. But he knew such thoughts could only stay in the mind, never in action. He silently went to the kitchen, where Captain Brajesh and the other crew members were preparing food. "This woman spits poison all the time," Ravi muttered. Brajesh smiled and said, "Son, that's how rich people are. We just have to bear their tantrums with a smile. Time cures them, not people." Ravi took a deep breath and stayed quiet. Anvesha's arrogance grew worse with each passing day. She even spoke rudely to Captain Brajesh, saying, "I can't stand these servants. Tell them not to come near me." A strange heaviness spread across the yacht. Everyone tried to avoid her, but Ravi had no choice. He had to stay around her all the time. 2 days passed. Anvesha's shouting, her pride, her sharp tone. It all began to break Ravi's patience. He often tried to stay out of her sight, but fate seemed determined to bring them face to face again and again. One night, when the moonlight spread softly over the sea, Anvesha came to the deck, staggering from the effect of alcohol. Coincidentally, Ravi was walking toward her. She bumped into him and said bitterly, "Can't you watch where you're going?" The spark of anger already burning inside Ravi flared for a moment, but again, he controlled himself. Anvesha laughed, a cruel laugh filled with mockery, as if she enjoyed provoking him. Ravi replied coldly, "I wouldn't spend even a moment with a woman like you. Dancing with you would be the last thing I'd ever do." Then he walked away, though inside him a storm of anger and pain was rising. The next morning, Anvesha woke up with a new demand. "I want to go fishing today," she said firmly. Ravi tried to reason with her. "Ma'am, the weather is turning bad. It could be dangerous to go now." But Anvesha never listened to anyone. "I said I want to go, and we're going." Ravi gave up and took her out on a motorboat, heading into the deep sea. For a while, everything was fine, until suddenly, the engine stopped. Ravi tried again and again, but the boat refused to start. When he checked the fuel, he realized the tank was empty. "What do you mean the boat stopped? Start it right now!" Anvesha screamed. "I warned you not to go, but you insisted. Now we're both stuck here. All we can do is wait," Ravi replied. Anvesha's face turned red with fury. "Get me out of here right now or you'll regret it." The sea was merciless when the waves slowly began to roar around them. The day faded into evening and then night fell. Darkness surrounded them. They had no food left, no water, nothing. By the next morning, the sun was scorching. The pride on Anvesha's face had started to fade. Hunger, thirst, and fear, all three were slowly draining the arrogance from her voice. At that moment, she noticed a box containing a gun. "Bring that here. We can use it to signal for help," she shouted. Ravi quickly said, "That's a flare gun, ma'am. Be careful with it. One wrong move and everything could go wrong." There they were, trapped in the middle of the endless sea, where even the sky seemed to bend closer. And perhaps in that moment, destiny finally made Anvesha Deo face the mirror of her own pride. Time seemed to stop. The sun burned above their heads, thirst cracked their lips, and hunger clawed at their stomachs. Gathering what little strength he had, Ravi took a piece of net and, after several tries, managed to catch a small fish. He cooked it over a bit of fire and handed it to Anvesha. "Eat this," he said gently. "You'll get some strength." But Anvesha's face still carried the mark of pride. "This? It's filthy. I don't eat things like that." And she threw the fish. Ravi lowered his gaze for a moment. "I wonder if people like you still think they're above others even in hunger and misery," he murmured. Suddenly Anvesha pointed toward the horizon. "Look there, a boat." Hope flashed in their eyes. Anvesha immediately grabbed the flare gun and tried to shoot it into the sky, but her hands were trembling. The flare misfired, and in the next instant it struck the side of their rubber boat. A sharp hiss filled the air. "Sssss!" The boat began to deflate. "What have you done?" Ravi shouted, but it was too late. The boat started to sway violently as water rushed in. Both of them grabbed onto what was left of the raft and began to paddle desperately. Night fell. The sky thundered, lightning split the darkness, and the sea went wild. Rain poured down, washing away everything, pride, fear, even their voices. Anvesha screamed, but her cries were lost in the roaring waves. Ravi clung to the broken edge of the raft with both hands. "Hold on. Morning will come," he shouted through the storm. All night long, they fought against the furious sea, completely alone. When the first rays of dawn touched their faces, they saw a small island in the distance, a faint line of hope, as if fate had offered them one more chance. They somehow reached it. As soon as they stepped onto the sand, Anvesha collapsed and lay there gasping for breath. But within moments she was back to her old self, the living image of arrogance. "My lawyer will find you, do you understand? You left me here to die. You'll rot in jail for this." Ravi spoke in a tired, calm voice. "Do whatever you want. I don't care anymore. In fact, Staying away from a woman like you is a blessing." They both walked off in opposite directions. The island was silent. No birds, no people, only the whisper of the wind. Ravi explored one side of a rocky hill and found an old hut. It seemed someone had lived there long ago. He cleaned it, patched the roof with leaves, fetched water from a nearby stream, and built a small setup to cook fish over a fire. Meanwhile, Anvesha wandered aimlessly through the forest. Everywhere she looked, there was only emptiness and silence. Eventually, exhausted, she hid behind a tree and watched Ravi from a distance. She watched him, the same servant she had always treated as inferior, now calmly roasting fish and eating in peace. Hunger finally began to erode her pride. Slowly, she walked toward him. "Can you give me a little?" she asked softly. Ravi paused and looked up at her. "No," he said firmly. "You mocked me all your life. Now you'll have to fight your hunger on your own." "I'll buy it from you," Anvesha snapped angrily. "I'll pay 1,000 rupees. Or here, take this. My gold bracelet." Ravi took the bracelet in his hand, looked at it, then smiled faintly and dropped it on the ground. "Your wealth means nothing here, ma'am. Out here only hunger speaks, not pride." Anvesha's face turned red. She picked up a handful of sand and threw it at him. "You insolent man!" Ravi's patience finally broke. He slapped her and hard while listened carefully. "From today, you're my servant. I'm the master on this island, and you'll do exactly what I say. If you want to eat, call me master. Now go, wash my clothes, dry them, and fetch water. Maybe then I'll give you something to eat." Anvesha clenched her teeth in rage, but she had no choice. She went to the stream, washed his clothes, spread them on the rocks to dry, and returned before evening. Ravi took a deep breath and said, "Now go fetch water. Then maybe you'll have food." And for the first time, the rich heiress who once never lifted a finger now walked into the forest like a humble maid, carrying a bucket in her hands. The roots of her pride were beginning, slowly but surely, to crumble. Anvesha obeyed Ravi without a word and quietly began doing everything he asked. She washed his clothes, then fetched water from the stream. As the sun began to set, exhaustion made the first crack in her pride. When she returned, Ravi had roasted a fish and placed it in front of her. "Here, eat this," he said simply. Anvesha hesitated. Once, she was the same woman who would scream if her food turned cold, and now, she sat there slowly eating a half-burnt, smoke-darkened fish with trembling hands. Ravi watched her silently. Somewhere deep inside, he felt a trace of pity, but he knew that this pain was the medicine that would finally wash away her poison of pride. Night fell, and the air near the sea had turned cold. Ravi went into his hut and said, "There's no place for you here. Sleep outside, under the open sky." "But it's so cold out there," she whispered. "This island wasn't made for princesses," he replied. "You'll have to learn to live with your circumstances." That moment felt like the longest of her life. Lying on the sand beneath the wide sky, Anvesha stared upward, and for the first time, she thought about her life. The same woman who once took pride in looking down on the world was now lying against the earth, quietly crying. Morning came. The sun stretched its golden hands across the sky. Ravi and Anvesha went to the shore together to catch fish. Now Ravi's face carried a certain firmness, as if he finally felt strong. He caught the fish, leaving all the other work to Anvesha. Whenever she showed even a hint of arrogance, his cold voice stopped her instantly. With time, his behavior grew tougher. One day, when Anvesha returned after gathering firewood, Ravi suddenly said, "Today, you'll sing, yes, and that song you used to love." Anvesha looked at him in surprise. "What? You want me to sing?" "Yes," he said, "sing and smile, as if you have no complaints about life." Reluctantly, she began to sing in a soft, trembling voice. Her words floated into the air, and it felt as if even the sea had paused to listen. A strange peace appeared on Ravi's face. He felt that the woman once filled only with pride was now beginning to become human again. Now, Anvesha washed his clothes, gathered wood, fetched water, and sometimes they even laughed together. Slowly, something unspoken began to grow between them, a connection that had started with hate, but time was painting it with a different color. One day, as Anvesha was cooking fish, Ravi came close to her and said softly, "Look, there's a mark on my hand. Give it a little kiss." Anvesha was startled. "What? Are you out of your mind?" "No," he said calmly. "I just want to see whether your pride is still alive or if it's finally dead." There was silence between them. Anvesha's hands trembled, but at last she lowered her head. With a small, shaking motion, she touched his hand with her lips. Ravi said nothing. He knew this wasn't victory. It was the birth of emotion. He wanted her to understand that true strength doesn't come from wealth, but from humility. From that day on, Anvesha never gave orders again. She began to ask gently, humbly. And Ravi, too, stopped being as harsh with her. On that island, where the air itself carried the scent of solitude, a new feeling was born between two hearts. A feeling that might not have been love, but it was without doubt humanity. Ravi Nath's heart was now caught in a strange conflict. He had watched Anvesha suffer humiliation for so long, but now, seeing her sit quietly weak and full of remorse, anger in his heart began to fade and turn into compassion. He wanted her to understand that a person's true identity isn't their wealth, it's their heart. That's why he was sometimes harsh, sometimes gentle, hoping she would change from within. One night the sea was silent, and the moonlight bathed the island in silver. Anvesha sat alone by the shore, listening to the sound of the waves. In those waves, she could hear echoes of her past life and the noise, the orders, the pride, the loneliness. The next morning, she came to Ravi. Her eyes were filled with tears, and the pride that once defined her face had completely broken away. She sat down near his feet and whispered, "I was wrong. I treated everyone badly. I hurt you, Ravi. I'm sorry." Ravi placed his hand gently on her shoulder and said softly, "Anvesha, a person truly changes only when they begin to recognize themselves. You've taken that step. I forgive you." Something shifted between them in that moment. They were no longer master and servant, but two human beings who needed each other. From then on, they worked together, catching fish, carrying water, repairing the hut, and life slowly began to feel easier. Gradually, a quiet tenderness grew between them. When she laughed, Ravi smiled. When she got tired, he silently brought her water. Time passed, and one night when the air carried both warmth and peace, they opened their hearts to each other. Perhaps it wasn't love, but the calm comfort of two broken souls finding peace together. Now, that small hut had become home for Anvesha. Ravi would say, "See this, Anvesha, this is what life really is. No luxury, no status, just a simple heart and peace that comes with it." One day, Ravi asked her, "Why were you always so harsh? Why did you hate everyone?" Anvesha took a deep breath and said, "Because no one ever understood me. Arjun, my husband, cared only about money. I was always alone, but no one ever saw that loneliness. I started living in anger, pushing people away. Maybe I even began to hate myself. But you made me remember what it means to be human." Ravi looked into her eyes and said quietly, "You realized it late, but you did realize it, and that's enough." Time seemed to stop. They now lived together on the island. Even silence felt incomplete without the other. During the day they caught fish, and in the evenings they sat by the fire talking softly. Sometimes they laughed. Sometimes they fell silent, remembering the past. One evening, as the sun melted into the sea, Anvesha went to collect firewood. Suddenly, she saw a ship far away, glowing with lights, alive with sound. For a moment, her heart began to race. "We can be saved," she whispered. But then she looked at the flare gun and stopped. She stood still for a few moments, lost in thought. Then she said to herself, "If I leave, I'll lose him, and maybe all of this will become meaningless." That night, she returned quietly to the hut. She didn't tell Ravi what she had seen. Her heart no longer longed to return to her old world, a world of empty smiles and shallow luxury. Later that night, they found an old bottle inside the hut. Ravi laughed and said, "Maybe it's a traveler's memory." They opened it, took gentle sips, and laughed together. Their laughter echoed through the night, and the sea listened in silence. That night, they danced for a long time and as if trying to wash away the exhaustion of life through movement. By then, they were so close that words had become unnecessary. Between them was only peace, a peace neither of them had ever known before. Ravi still hoped that someday someone might come to rescue them, but Anvesha, she wished time would stop right there, on that island in that little hut, where for the first time in her life she had finally found herself. Evening was falling by the sea. The air was heavy with moisture, and the sun was slowly sinking below the horizon. Anvesha and Ravi sat together by the shore, silent, yet their eyes spoke volumes. Anvesha whispered softly, "If we leave this place, Ravi, we'll be separated forever. I don't want that. I've fallen in love with you, and I don't want these moments to ever end." For the first time, her voice carried a truth, a depth she had never known before. Ravi gently took her hand and smiled. "If our love is true, Anvesha, then no matter where we are, we'll never truly be apart. Love doesn't live in places, it lives in hearts. And I believe, when I think of you, you'll always come back to me." The moment disappeared into the sound of the sea. Then Ravi fired a flare into the sky. A few hours later, a rescue boat appeared and brought them aboard. As they sat on the deck, their eyes met one last time, both silently knowing that this peace, this stillness might never return again. When they reached the harbor, Ravi Deo, Anvesha's husband, was waiting there. He ran to her and wrapped his arms around her. "Anvesha,
You're alive!
I can't believe it." Ravi stood quietly behind watching. Arjun walked toward him and offered his hand. "You saved my wife's life. I'll never forget your kindness, please. Take this as my gratitude." Ravi lowered his eyes, said nothing, and quietly walked away. There was no peace on his face and only a strange emptiness. A few days later, Ravi sat alone in a city club. A man approached him and said, "Mr. Arjun sent this, as a reward." He placed a bag on the table. Ravi opened it, bundles of cash inside. A faint bitterness appeared on his face. "My conscience is not for sale," he said, and threw the bag back. But the bag stayed there. As Ravi walked away, he suddenly stopped, looked back there, and silently picked it up. Walking through the streets, his eyes fell upon a jewelry shop. His steps slowed. He took out some of the money, went inside and bought a ring, simple yet beautiful, shining but pure, just like Anvesha, who was now free from pride. The next morning he called her. "Anvesha, I miss you so much. I wish we had stayed on that island and where everything was peaceful." After a brief silence, her voice came through, soft and trembling. "I haven't been able to forget you either. Haritiman, I'll wait for your decision. Tomorrow I'm leaving this place. But if you truly love me, leave a letter for me at the hotel reception. I'll come for it. I promise." Ravi did exactly that. That night, he sat down and wrote, "Anvesha, I want to marry you. Let's go somewhere far away and start a new life. A place with no world, no names, no past. Just you, me, and the peace we found on that island. Come to the harbor before sunrise. I'll be waiting for you, forever." He left the letter at the reception, along with the ring. But once again, fate built a wall between them. The next morning, Arjun found the letter first. He read it and smiled, then quietly made sure it never reached Anvesha. She waited and waited, but no message came. At last, with a heavy heart, she boarded a helicopter with Arjun. Her eyes were wet, and her heart was full of questions. Meanwhile, a hotel staff boy brought the same envelope to Ravi. "Sir, this was given by the people who just left in the helicopter," he said. Ravi opened it quickly. It was his own letter, the same ring inside, as if someone had mocked his love. His heart stopped for a moment. He ran, desperate, breathless. But when he reached the harbor, the helicopter was already far away in the sky. He clenched his fists, and tears streamed down his face. In anger and heartbreak, he threw the ring high into the air. It spun in the sunlight and fell deep into the sea, and with it, the love that was born in the solitude of the island sank forever into the dark water. Anvesha believed Ravi had forgotten her. Ravi believed Anvesha had rejected him. Neither ever knew that it wasn't distance, but someone else's lie that had torn them apart. Perhaps fate wanted it that way, that their love would remain unfinished, but their memories eternal. And in that incompleteness lay the quiet beauty of their story. The story of a proud heiress and a simple man who journeyed from arrogance to love only to be lost forever in the endless waves of time.